So if you're making a game, you're going to be wanting to spawn in enemies, most likely. And maybe you want to pre-place these in so you can actually design which enemies go where, but sometimes you want to spawn in enemies dynamically. Well, that's actually simple to do, so we're going to go over the very basic way to do that, and then also add on to that a little bit to make it a little bit more instantly usable in like an actual game design sense. So let's get started with that. We have the third person example map here as a base that we're going to be working off of because it comes with an enemy character. So let's get started. I'm going to make an actor for this. So blueprint class, we're going to make an actor and we'll call this BP random spawner. If we open that up, we can add a couple of components to this. I'm going to add two main components, one trigger box that's going to trigger the enemies to spawn, and then one collider box that we're not actually going to use for collision, but instead we're going to use that as the area that the enemies can spawn within. So let's add in a box collision. This will be our trigger, and then add in another box collision. Make sure that it's not a child of the trigger. It needs to be a child of the default scene root. So you drag it onto there, and then you attach that. So we still have the default scene root as the actual scene root, and then we'll set this name something like location. And you'll see why we do that in a moment. The default size for the location is just going to make something bigger, like 128 by 128, so that they don't overlap. And we're going to come scrolling down here and set the collision settings in collision preset to being no collision for the location box. The trigger box, however, we want to overlap all dynamic and make sure that generate overlap events is turned on. And just to be sure that you're going to see everything, I increase the size of the UI. So that is overlap dynamic for the trigger box, generate overlap events on, and then for location, you can also turn off generate overlap events and no collision. Going into the event graph, we can now go into our trigger here and scroll down all the way to its events. We add in a component begin overlap, and here we just check whether or not we are overlapping with the player. Because if another enemy AI overlaps with this, obviously we don't want to trigger anything. So we can just do an equal and check if this is equal to get player pawn. Now this will only say true, and we can add in a branch by holding down B and just clicking. This will only let us go through if the thing that's overlapping with this specific component is the player. So if that is the case, what do we want to do? Well, we're going to add in a few variables here on the left-hand side. The first of which is the amount to spawn. How many actors do we want to spawn in the first place? That's going to be an integer, and we'll make that exposed so that we can edit that in the world. If we compile this, we can set a default value. Let's say by default we want to set 5 to spawn. Then we need to know which enemies do we want to spawn in. So for that, we're going to add in a classes to spawn variable. And this is going to be a actor and that class reference, not object, the purple one, class reference. And we're going to come over to the right side here and make that an array. An array so that we can make multiple different entries very easily and pick one from those. That's also going to be exposed because we're going to be setting that on a per instance basis. Now, if you have a specific class in your game that all other enemies inherit of, you would set it to be that type instead of a generic actor. But if you want to be able to spawn in pretty much anything at random, keeping this as a generic actor array is nice because you can now put in anything that is an actor to be spawned in here. So next up, we want to keep track of all of the enemies that we have spawned in. So for that, we're going to make an array, which is the spawned actors. And this is also going to be an actor array, but instead of it being a class reference, this one will be object references, so the blue one. This one doesn't need to be exposed. This is just for internally keeping track of the enemies that have been spawned in and not yet destroyed. And the reason that we do that is we also want to check, hey, spawned actors. If there's any spawned actors already, we don't want to spawn in more actors when we trigger this thing, right? So we can just check, hey, is this thing empty, which is an existing function? And if it is empty, then we will do all of this to begin with. So we check, hey, are we overlapping with the player pawn? And then pulling off of that, we can do an AND boolean, meaning that both this array has to be empty and we need to be overlapping with the player pawn for this stuff to run now. Now that we have all that conditioning set up, we can actually start spawning in these enemies. We're going to do that with a for loop because we want to spawn in a certain amount of enemies, of course. So we can in for loop, not the for each loop, just the normal for loop. And we're going to do the first index at 1 here because we're counting through. And if we do at 0, we're going to spawn in 1 more than you initially would think. And then the last index will be the amount to spawn variable. So this is now going to do any code that we put into this loop this amount of times. In our case, 5 times. If we set this to be 12, it's going to run this 12 times. And what we're going to do here is going to be relatively simple. We just spawn an actor from class. We take our classes to spawn array, and we just take a random item out of it and put that in there. So now every time it's going to just take a random one out of this array and spawn that into the world. We need to give it a location and rotation to spawn in though. So let's split the structure up in. We can keep the spawn scale at 111 for the most part. What we want to do is we want to spawn these at a certain location. And that's where our location box comes in. Remember, we made this second box that doesn't have any like actual collision. We're just using this to drive the location. So if we pull that in, what we can do is we can get the world location from that component. That's going to be the center of the box. And then we add to that the box's size in both the positive and the negative. And then we use that to get a random vector between those values. So we also get the box extend, and we split both of these structure pins. Because we don't really want to do anything regarding the Z in this case, we're going to always want to spawn this at the exact Z position that the box is at. Obviously, if you do want variance in where they spawn in the Z location, if you're spawning like flying enemies, you would do the same thing here with the Z location. For normal enemies that just walk around, you probably don't need to do that. And before we actually do the math for this, we're going to make a vector. So use the make vector. And there we just put in the Z from the get world location. And then we need to put in the X and the Y. And those are going to be random values. So we do random float in range for both of these. So X and Y. And then the way that we calculate that will be the X coordinate for this thing added to the box extend X. That's going to be the maximum value that we want to generate this location at. The minimum value will be the X value minus the box extend. So that way what we get is we get the box extend plus X. That'll be the first that spawns into the X, and minus X will be the first that spawns into that direction in the X. And then obviously we just do the same with the Y. So we do the location plus box extend Y for the maximum, and then the location minus the box extend Y for the minimum. And now we've got a system which will just randomly anywhere within this box spawn in our enemies as we go. We can even make this maybe a little bit thinner so that it's more representative of the actual like height. So let's just make this like 4 units tall. And it's going to be doing that the amount of times that we want to spawn these in. Now, that's the spawning in. We also want to keep track maybe of when we have defeated all of the enemies, right? Because maybe you spawn in a random amount of enemies, and once you've defeated them all, the door to the next level will open, or something like that. Well, that's actually not too difficult to do either, because anytime we spawn an actor, we just assign on destroyed, and that will make this event, any code that we put into there, run whenever the actor that we spawned in is destroyed. And the reason that we want to do that to begin with is we want to get our spawn actors. And whenever one of these actors gets destroyed, we want to remove that item from this array. And that will still work because by the time this code runs, this actor still technically exists. This is getting run before it's actually removed from the game. If you don't do this, this array is still going to have the index pointing to that actor, but that actor is just not going to exist anymore, meaning that it's going to be an invalid actor, but it will still exist in the array, meaning that this is empty that we have here is going to think that there's something in the array, even though it's an invalid object. So you do need to remove it from the array with this. And then obviously, we also, when we spawn in something, we need to add it to that array. So we get our spawn actors, we just add. You can add unique if you're worried about adding the same thing twice. In this case, that's not going to matter. And normal adding is just a little bit faster. So we just add the actor that we recently spawned in to that array. And now we have a fully functioning enemy spawner that randomly spawns enemies at random locations. Now, you can give them a transform rotation as well if you really wanted to. I like to make them look at the player. So the way that you could do that is you could find the look at rotation, split that structure pin, because the only thing that we're going to want to set here is going to be the Y location, because we don't want to rotate it in the X or the Y, because that's going to be like tilting and rolling them around their pivot point. We only want them to rotate around their own like up axis, just left to right, and that's the yaw. So you put in that there, and then you just give in the spawn location for the start, and then the target is going to be wherever the player is. Well, we already have this get player pawn node that we can easily use, and we can just get that actor's location, and now when they spawn in, they will always be looking toward the player character. One last thing to add in real quick is maybe you want this thing to give a signal for any objects listening out when all the enemies have been defeated. As I just said, something like maybe these are enemies like guarding a gate or something. So the way that you can do that is just after any enemy is destroyed, we remove that enemy from the array. We just once again check whether or not this array is now empty. And if it is, we can send out a signal through a event dispatcher. If you're not super familiar with event dispatchers, I have entire like separate videos on those. I'll try to remember to link those. If I don't remember, please yell at me in the comments about it. But easily, we just add an event dispatcher on enemies defeated, and we just call that out. And now any object that might be listening out for it, again, gates, level transitions, it doesn't matter what, can listen out for this event dispatcher and do its thing once you've completed your combat. So let's just go into our third person level here. Put this thing in here, and I'm going to say I want this to spawn these things in when I walk over a certain location. So you can go into your menu here, select any of the components individually, and then you can move those around without moving around the entire actor. Alternatively, you can also double click on components, but that's a little bit difficult with these trigger boxes because they're very thin. But if you double click on one of these, it also selects just the components. If you're having a hard time with that, like I am, you can go into these, and I think in here somewhere, you can set the line thickness to be higher. There we go. So the line thickness now is 0. If we set this to like 10, they become much easier to click on. So if we double click that, you can see I can move around our trigger box. So let's set our trigger box to be whenever we walk off of this ramp, we can just like size it up a little bit. Technically, you should be doing that with the box extend, but just scaling works well enough most of the time. So let's set the trigger box to be there. And then we can also double click our spawning location, and we can make that a square that is as big as we need it to be. And then put that literally anywhere in our level as well. It doesn't even need to be at the exact same location as our actor itself. Our actor's location is still over here. Our trigger is here, and it will be spawning enemies over here. Now we go back into the topmost thing here, random spawner. And here we can say the classes that we want to spawn. I think we only have like one enemy in this. So we're just going to be spawning in that one enemy. If you have multiple different types of enemies, obviously you can put in multiple different ones. But we have the combat character, and then in AI, I believe we have the combat enemy. So let's put that in here by pressing on this button. Now you can see we have the combat enemy in here. And just to show you, I'm going to just put in a random other actor like this, where we have this enemy spawner that we might have somewhere in here, like maybe just the combat character as well. That's supposed to be the player character, so it's not going to do anything, but it'll show you that it just randomly picks from this list. So now that we have that all set up, if we play the game and I walk down this ramp, you will see it has 2 of the enemies that have spawned in, and then 3 of the, well, not enemies that spawned in. And if I play again, it will be a different permutation, and they will be in different positions. Obviously, you would want the enemies to have some sort of spawn-in animation and all that kind of stuff, but That is very specific to what you want to do with your game. Do you want that to be a skeletal mesh animation? Do you want that to be a particle system? That's entirely up to you. Maybe even like a material animation or whatever. So that is how you can make a simple but very functional and quick enemy spawn system that spawns enemies at random locations from random classes in a powerful, reusable way. If you want this project file to just mess around with it a little bit, I will leave a download link in the description below for patrons and YouTube members. But it should be fairly self-explanatory, hopefully. And a very big thank you to all my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help support the channel or get any of the project files in any of my tutorials, there's a link down below to the Patreon page to support me, or alternatively as a YouTube member. And a huge thank you to my Cave Big Brain tier supporters, which care more for coding than impulse control: Earl, Monsterville Urno, my Cave Students tier supporters, Oiku, and my Cave Digger tier supporters, Mauricio Farias.